character.
I want to point out that they just put you on top of this chair to begin this, and then, like, you have to walk off of it, but there's no straps, there's no one keeping you really on it.
They knew better than to try to strap down Duke Nukem.
Oh, yes, but maybe you should
Slow him
try.
down.
Also, they've taken him away from where the strippers are, so you know he's gonna kill him.
He was pretty happy where he was, and now we're in this piece of crap.
Even when he was happy, notice he was still murdering them.
Well, yeah. It's...
Now he's not happy, and he has weapons.
See, I think the whole thing about, like, violence and gore and stuff like that, like, I'm very much anti-censorship. I think it should be more the responsibility of the people or families who are watching it, you know, than it is the government to limit things. Like, I don't know if we went into this in depth or not, but something that pisses me off was going back to the 80s, looking at what's called the PMRC.
Mm-hmm.
For those who aren't familiar with it, they wanted to basically remove or to slap stickers on albums. Like, the whole thing kicked off with Prince. They did a song called Darling Nikki. And there was a reference to masturbation in there, specifically female masturbation. Tipper Gore got a hold of it. She played it for her daughter, and she heard the masturbation thing. She flipped out. She created this group called the PMRC to try to,
Why was Tipper Gore playing Prince for her daughter?
Well, that's question number one. Instead of maybe using that money towards that album, towards maybe, you know, Mozart or instrumental music or something like that, she bought the album for her daughter, let the daughter listen to it, heard the reference to masturbation, then flipped her shit. Which prompted, you know, so forth, like I said, the creation of the PMRC. And that to me is censorship. Like, don't, as a government entity, or non-government entity if you want to get specific, but it's a whole shitstorm there. Tell me what I should and should not have in my house. Like, that's my decision, that's my choice. If I want to expose myself to this certain type of music, I shouldn't need the government saying, well, you know, we don't necessarily agree with it. No, fuck off. Like, that's to me, that's blatant censorship. You know what I mean? You've
got to go pretty far. I agree, wholehearted. Like, you got to go pretty far to find my my caveats on that. Yeah, inverted cross with a fucking Akamai.
I tend to be of the Voltaire mind that, I may not agree with what you have to say, but I'll die for your right to say it. That's kind of stuck with me my entire life. So,
the only exceptions I really make is shit like Cannibal Holocaust, where they actually killed a goat and a turtle to make a fucking movie.
Okay, yeah, that's just being stupid. There's a difference.
That's.
I don't even know if you really call that censorship anymore. I guess some people would, and they're like, oh, why don't you just make a, if the goat, if they're gonna eat it, then it's fine. I'm like, that's not. If a guy's dying of cancer, am I allowed to shoot him in my movie if he's cool with it? No, because there's dignity. Like, there is such a thing. Oh, we're entering death row.
Yeah, I might have died a little.
We're gonna get shot. We're gonna get shot by Suge Knight. No. I actually one of the videos I have, I think, saved on my saved videos on YouTube is Frank Zappa defending against censorship. When they were having those, when they were having the hearings.
Yeah.
And he had some amazing stuff to say about creative expression and why you've got to leave it alone.
Oh yeah, I've got his autobiography actually, and he's got, I think, almost the full transcript of it in the book, and I was reading it the other day. And he makes some extremely valid points when it comes to creativity and musicians and artists, and letting them have the ability to do their work unchecked, and then leave it to the the parents' responsibility in this case about deciding what it, as opposed to the government.
Absolutely. You brought up, like, you specifically pointed out that it was female masturbation that they took exception to, and if you go back and look at censorship, that's not a new thing.
Oh yeah.
To be like, well, boys will be boys, but we have to protect the ladies. Like, we have to protect their delicate constitutions.
Yeah, it's always, we must protect the women and the small children. That's just how it always is.
And I'm like, why aren't we working to feed these children, clothe these children, educate these children? like we seem to have a lot of disagreements on how to do that, but we certainly don't want him to hear any naughty words.
Right. Which is the thing, and which is another thing Zappa brought up. He's like, just if somebody has a reference to the word, say, cunt, I'm just going to throw that out there, that doesn't mean you're going to hell. You're not, your soul isn't internally damned just because you said the word cunt or heard somebody say it. It's just a word. It's all about how you react to that word.
Save.
Yeah, really save.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember how to toggle my inventory right now, but go ahead and keep talking.
I am fully intending on toggling my inventory after we get done tonight.
I toggle my inventory every night.
I'm currently toggling my inventory. What do you know?
Joan, I have some bad news. Tippergore says you can't be on the internet anymore.
God damn it! Can't have any nice things.
You said God damn it, so now you owe her $1,000. No,
I'll have a sticker on myself saying that I'm not fit for general consumption.
I actually there was a great article. There's currently I think it just got released last week in New York Magazine about how analingus is becoming more popular in heterosexual couples. How's that? Damn it! That's uplifting to me.
I missed the platform that goes up to the secret area.
Oh, that game we're supposed to be talking about. Yeah, whatever. But no, and it was written by a woman, which fills me with such happiness. That not only is Tossin Salad A totally cool now, or at least getting there, but B, some lady wrote about it, and that's some precedent-setting shit here in America.
Yeah.
We treat it's a lot of media, like we're playing Duke Nukem. Like, let's be real here. Women are either sexualized objects or non-sexualized objects. They're still objects. And I don't want to say 9 times out of 10, but in a lot of instances. And they, to understand that they have a sex drive wholly separate of the sexualization of men is something that is hard for people to grasp, a little confusing, and they don't want to talk about it because it makes them uncomfortable.
I think a lot of that has to do with, like, Americans' view of sex. And I'm just using American because I'm American. I'm not familiar with other countries, so apologies to anybody watching this for this being so, like, American-centric. Here we're taught that, we don't have proper sex ed, which is the first problem. If you do get sexual education, it's mostly about abstinence. And if it's about anything else, it's usually just the general, here's how to bathe, here's how to stay away from sex, and that's pretty much it. So when we get messages like that saying don't have sex, it's impure, it's dirty, blah blah blah, and then you have stuff in the media that just shows men and women as sexual objects and titillation and objectification, things like that, it sends this weird kind of mixed message that we should be sexual but we also shouldn't fuck. So it's I think that is a big part of the problem.
I think that's where you see a lot of, like, because you often hear sex and violence lumped together when talking about censorship or immorality or anything. Well, if you're looking for where violence bumps up against sexuality, repression's where you're going to find it.
Yeah.
And you can't say that our, especially our young nerds, aren't a bit repressed. Just a tiny bit.
You need to be real careful with this kind of argument, though, because then it can get to a slippery slope of saying, oh, well, just, because I saw some guy smack a woman in a game, that means that I'm gonna go smack women now. Like, no, that's not how it works.
Repression is no more of a free pass than the devil made me do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
I think Kite raised a funny point that nerds are even more repressed. But I think there is validity to say that, we sexualize each other, we're told not to bone, but then a lot of nerds, it goes even further because they don't conform to the typical attractive archetypes. So not only can you not bone, but no one wants to bone with you in your viewpoint. you know, from your perspective.
Which is also very frustrating because I don't think a lot of nerd dudes, and I'm only saying this from the perspective of somebody who grew up as a nerd girl, I don't think all these nerd dudes realize how many like nerd girls want to bone them, but because there's no social skills there, it goes unchallenged and unchecked, and it leaves people on both sides very disappointed.
I've always liked the phrase, the odds are good, but the goods are odd.
Hello, new tattoo.
It's very fair, and probably why, like, I dated several girls from Georgia Tech, despite the fact that it's an awful lot of guys in Georgia Tech just really would like to date. You gotta try harder, is all I'm saying.
And Joan, to your point of repression and not being able to like socially adjust to it, I've been at so many LAN parties with so much eye fucking going on that I swear I was in like an anime from 1998.
One of those harem animes, or?
I was like, God damn it, Joan, Senpai's never gonna notice you unless you get it together.
What's the difference?
It's so weird, and at the same time, you hear from these guys, but I'm socially awkward, and it just makes, like, I don't mean to do the things that I do, it just happens. No, socially awkward, I'm socially awkward. And yet I seem to be able to live fine and all of that good stuff. Socially awkward is something completely different than, but I didn't understand that it's weird to sniff her hair.
Yeah, quick story for you guys. This is a slight tangent, but quick story. The first time I ever cosplayed, and just right up front, I'm a fat woman. I'm not very pretty by traditional standards, whatever. But I cosplayed as a female engineer from Team Fortress 2. I really liked the game. I thought it would be cool. So I go to a convention. I went down to MetroCon. This is in Tampa. And I had the full costume, things like that. There was this one gentleman, and I hesitate to use the word gentleman. He was dressed up as the Red Sniper. And for a good part of the morning, he would kind of just follow me and another friend of mine who's dressed up as a Blue Scout, follow me around and go, oh, I can't believe that girls play video games, and like trying to touch our hair and like our butts. And he's like, so how did you get your breasts into those overalls? And I'm like, that's not really an appropriate thing you should ask a woman.
Okay, Joan, I mean this with the most respect I could possibly muster. Were y'all's butts rocking or not? Yes or no?
No.
Citation needed. No. No, that's.
And this was going on for like no joke, like 2 hours, to the point where we were looking for the larger TF2 photo shoot group to get with. So once we did, like, one of the dudes who was playing like heavy, and he was like this big muscular dude, he basically like pulled the dude away and was like, yo, we need to cut the shit. It took like another dude telling him to stop after we kept telling him like, yo, we're really uncomfortable, you need to stop, it's kind of harassing. And like, this is the shit that happens, you know what I mean? So it's like, that's socially awkward. That's something you don't do. It's one thing to say, wow, you ladies look really nice, I like your cosplay, oh thanks, and then going, so I really think we should exchange information because we both like TF2 and you have big breasts. You know what I mean? Like, that's...
I am not unashamed to say that for both dudes and ladies, I don't discriminate, I educate. If you've got a rockin' backyard, I will tell you. That has changed. That has changed in my monogamy, but I you know, like the, hey, you know, looking good is fundamentally different from let me mouth touch you.
Right. Like if on the rare occasions that I have been complimented, they'd be like, oh wow, you look really nice. I'm like, oh, thank you. You know, that's really flattering. I appreciate it. But then here's something like, you know, I want to put my D on your A or something like that. It's like, all right, that's more information.
Whoa.
Yeah.
All right, butt stuff is third date at best. I'm old-fashioned. But if you got to toss that salad, there are going to be 3 dinners before it. That's all I'm saying.
Right. It's only fair.
But no, and it's telling that that when a guy told him he backed off, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, that's one of the more depressing things about your anecdote. is that he had to wait for a guy to tell him to respect ladies.
Yeah, which was something I didn't think about at the time, but I was just glad that somebody was able to get him the fuck away from us.
Sure.
But looking back on it, I was like, that's really fucked up. Like, the two of us were like, please stop. We're really uncomfortable. We just want to do the photo shoot, meet up with our friends, and that's it. And, you know, it took this dude who basically was like the heavy in real life to go, you need to stop.
Can I ask, did he call you Sasha?
No, unfortunately not.
Opportunity.
It was, but he had his own Sasha gun.
Ooh,
so...
okay, all right, fair enough. No, on the social awkwardness, my lady, who I hope is not listening to this particular episode, and all of my conversations about butt stuff. Hi, Kat. She and I met online, and not even through a dating site. We were playing the same role-playing game, and we became friends. And then we decided, hey, let's maybe try to be more than friends. And I am. Kite can confirm this. I'm kind of a socially weird dude. IRL.
Well, yeah.
Cool.
It's if it doesn't come across in the whole, us talking, we can be social people when we want to, but at the same time, we're both kind of weird.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm that guy with like thin but long hair, sitting at the Waffle House, telling a buddy of his why there's no way Bouncing Boy and Matter Eater Lad are less cool than Ultra Boy. Nobody gets that. Point is, we were able to facilitate growth between two rather nerdy individuals.
Sure.
Using the social medium we were comfortable with. Now the other sharp part of that double-edged sword is you get folks like, I'm going to call him Creep Sniper, who see one kind of behavior online or get used to not having to interact, and that just goes downhill, like with quickness. And he's not, like, that behavior is not the standard for folks like us. I mean, all three of us.
Oh, sure. I mean, I know that's an extreme example of, that's sure. One, but it's, I think it's
damn,
just,
it seemed to be a stereotype that sticks, is my point,
Yes, exactly.
And it's disheartening to see that and see that they don't apologize from it. They often say shit like, I'm sorry you were offended. Which is a non-statement. If you ever say that...
It's a non-apology.
Yeah.
Oh, I will say, I'm sorry I offended you. That was not my goal. Sometimes it is my goal to offend people.
But there's a difference between saying, I apologize for offending you, or I'm sorry for offending you, and I'm sorry if you're offended. That is two worlds of difference. Different wording, but two worlds of difference. Like,
yeah, they get confused. There's some people that need to be good and goddamn offended.
Oh, yeah.
I have met these people. I've had to stand in line behind these people at Starbucks, and I have offended them. I actually think Slacker Kite and I had to leave a Starbucks once because I offended some of them. Which is okay. I wasn't missing out on my shitty $4 cup of coffee.
I think our time in the spotlight was offending the good people of Walmart. That was A+ material.
They can go to hell.
I feel like I'm missing a really good story.
Not one that we can give to the internet for legal reasons.
You have to tell me later.
Suffice to say, I don't have a criminal record currently. That's all I'm going to say. Joan will totally tell you that one later. Point is, like, it's I find it hard with a lot of people online. I find it hard to sort of, because my impetus is to be like, hey, just, get over it, or like, hey, you know how to behave in public, you just don't want to. When that's not true for a lot of them. And I feel bad because it's not true for a lot of them, but it feels like, hey, we all had to sit down and figure out the difference between internet and real life. And I wish more people knew that and weren't such shitwads on the internet, but, you know, after I figure that one out, I'll piss up a waterfall because apparently I'm magic in this world.
Right.
Well,
and I want to be something. I also want to be perfectly clear. Women do this too. Like people will shit all over male nerds and say, oh, you know, male nerds are fucking creepers. There were plenty of female nerds who will creep just as bad, if sometimes not worse, than the male ones. Let me just throw that out there before
I've had female stalkers before, and it's weird. As you know, a not terribly handsome kind of weird guy. It's like,
shut up, you're adorable.
No.
And if any of you ever meet Slacker Kite in real life, I'm gonna spoil it for you. He's like a Care Bear with a driver's license. He's adorable. Meanwhile, I look like the bastard child of Meatloaf and Dr. Frankenfurter from Rocky Horror.
What now?
Oh yeah, you heard me. I look like Meatloaf's fat gay nephew. And I've made peace with that. Like, if someone was like, we need Dan Aykroyd, but like wearing clothes a Nirvana roadie would throw away, and with ratty ass hair, can you make us that Dan Aykroyd?
Where the hell did I just go?
But I don't know.
I
know this is the game we're supposed to be talking about.
I tried to jump into a hole, and suddenly I teleported to the wrong part of the game.
But Joan, to your point, I have seen women and men, but you know, to your point that, you know, men aren't the only one that do stuff like this. I have seen women directly and knowingly and without remorse benefit from social awkwardness of people in the nerd culture, just unapologetically. And
oh yeah.
It's you can't, you know, I live by one of the rules, like, it's hard to compare sins. Like, you don't want to say, like, you know, well, this is bad, but this is definitively worse. Like, it applies to a few things. Like, you know, melting nuns is worse than littering. Like, you could say that.
Sure.
Or I guess it depends on the nun. If it was the kind of evil nun from Silent Night, Deadly Night, like, I'd be okay with it. You can melt her. She was awful.
If it was a nun from Blues Brothers, I wouldn't have a problem with it.
Yeah, she seemed really mean.
Not the nicest lady ever.
Oh, there we go. I look like a John Belushi clone they sat in front of a computer for like 2 decades. There we go. That's
Jesus.
I
just feel like when it comes to relationships, particularly even just regular, you know, interpersonal relationships, friends, like things like that, like a lot of, I'm just gonna say nerds, just to be, you know, blanket statement, to make a generalization statement here. There is this undercurrent of social awkwardness that, you know, isn't helped by the fact that most of us are behind our computers or our games, you know, for the most part, in school and things like that. So when it comes to relating to people of whatever gender or sex that we're attracted to, we don't know how to handle it. Generally speaking, it's. And then when you try to sit there and go, well, you know, that's not appropriate, or maybe you should consider, you know, approaching this person in a different way, or having some space, it's always the other person's problem. Like, why can't they love me, or why can't they appreciate me for what you are? Well, because you're being kind of a creep. So maybe you shouldn't do that.
You should like who you are, but you should also always work on making a better who you are. Like, I've never understood the whole, like, you know, it's just me being me, you know, you can deal with it or you can't. Like, okay, well, can't. Well, why can't you deal with me? Because you're being a dickweed.
Right.
The whole...
Or a bitch.
Yeah, the whole if you can't have me at my, you know, worst.
If you can't handle me at my worst, yeah you don't deserve me at my best.
But if like, who wants to handle you at your worst all the time?
Yeah. Like, where's your best?
I feel like this map should really mean something to me, and I'm just looking at it all sorts of confused.
Let's overlay this map with another map.
Let's put a map on a map.
I feel like
I'm...
Damn it, beat me to it. You beat me to the reference. But, I swear, whoever's watching this, we meant to start out talking about Duke Nukem.
We always mean to start talking about the thing, and then...
Just degenerated into something else entirely.
But actually, you know, Joan, you hesitated on using the word nerd. Like, this has always been my thing. I've always understood it as if it's a cultural thing, you're a nerd. If it's an intellectual thing, you're a geek. You like a math geek and a math nerd can be two completely different things.
Okay, I can see that. It's always like the fucking definitions always change. Like a geek is somebody who knows like a million things about one particular thing, or as a nerd is kind of general nerd. Like I don't like it always changes. I have no fucking clue. I don't know anymore. I just say nerd or geek. I kind of use them interchangeably at this point.
Yeah, I feel like there should be a standard because I don't know if I'm an English nerd or an English geek.
Right. Like I talk a lot about like Metal Gear Solid and Portal and things like that, and I will say that I'm either a Metal Gear Solid geek or I'll say Metal Gear Solid nerd, and I'm like I don't really know what the nomenclature is.
And people who get all up in arms about the difference between geek and nerd are the same people who I think sniff women's hair and say, "Why is this a problem?"
Don't go that far with your chick privilege there, Kate. Because I honestly, I'm uncomfortable without being able to like English to me, like language to me is something that you use to better understand. If there's a lack of understanding, then the language should compensate.
The language should be adjusted or fixed or whatever.
Absolutely. People like to wrap that up in political correctness, but no. If they're like, what do you call a man who chooses to live as a woman? You call her a woman. Like there's some pretty easy shit there.
Right. Like, that's not being politically correct. That's going, hey, I would like to be identified as a woman. Oh,
yeah,
okay, cool.
That's fine. I've never understood people who have a problem with that.
But it's the same, the nerd geek is a smaller, is a smaller version of that, is what I'm saying.
Oh, okay.
Because we're looking to find language that works better. Kite, I can sit here and be like, I just don't understand people who like 8-bit games because we have more bits now and they're stupid. And I'm pretty sure I can hear the vein on your forehead throb just from me saying that in jest. So that's what I mean by
replying.
Yeah, because I think he's like finding a new part of his mouth he can bite. But you see my point there with like being dismissive is you have to be very careful with something like that.
Yeah.
Oh, and I'm making stereotypes for the jokes. It's not.
Sure.
Yeah, this isn't. Oh no, if you're the fedora wearer, then I can't talk to you. I happen to own a fedora, so.
Are you euphoric?
What?
Nothing.
You may have to explain that after the fact.
I refuse. I refuse. No, I the same thing goes for. Actually, this is a perfect example. I asked Joan not more than like 15 minutes ago if her rump was indeed happening in her engineer costume. I asked her that to be funny because I know Joan, and there is an inherent you know what I mean when I say that. That is the fundamental difference between me and Creep Sniper.
Right. Like I can sit and I can talk to my friends and we can be not like overtly sexual and things like that because like to me there's like I get uncomfortable being that way with certain people just because that's me. But like we can make jokes like that and know that there's no like awkwardness between us because we're friends. But if some dude comes up to me and then starts talking about like my breasts not being able to fit into an overall, it's like, all right, you.
It sounds like he was writing fan fiction about you in real time.
Exactly. Like there's no better way to put that, I think. So it's like there's a very definitive line between, like I said, offering somebody a compliment or being, oh wow, that looks really good on you, it looks really flattering, whatever, or joking around with your friends, and then being a complete fucking dirtball like that. And again, it's men or women.
And that feeds into, like you said, like you're comfortable with friends doing that. That feeds into that social awkwardness, conundrum. That I'm willing to understand, but forgiveness is a subjective. It has to be kind of, I don't know. Like I hate saying the phrase forgiveness has to be subjective because that sounds kind of scary. But
yeah.
I hope you understand what I mean. Like you can't take bullcrap like that just at face and move on, because that kind of shit sticks with you.
Yeah.
I am all for. I have many friends who will get into a sexual objectification of the because it's funny. It's funny to us because we're making our own satire to pass the time. And we satirize. It goes into that very Jewish laugh to keep from crying thing.
Well, it's about context too. Like it all depends on what's going on. Like it doesn't exist in a vacuum.
It absolutely. One of my favorite things to do is try to make my friends sexually uncomfortable. Me and a buddy of mine were waiting in a DMV a few months back, and I turned to him and go, "You think Sigourney Weaver masturbates?" And he's like, "I don't think this is the place to talk about that." I'm like, "No, come on. She's a remarkable woman, self-possessed, still gorgeous after all these years. What do you think she masturbates
Someone
about?"
on the internet is very angry at me right now, fumbling around Duke Nukem. I'm just throwing it out there.
They can fucking deal with it. Yeah, somewhere the lazy game review guy is just like laying there in a cold sweat, fidgeting.
Sweating intensifies.
Damn that meme.
I feel bad for letting him down too. He's one of my favorites.
Hail to the king.
Oh yeah, Lazy Game Review is one of those guys. It's sort of like Retsu Pare. I can throw them on and just listen. Like I don't even have to be looking at the screen. I'm just so comfortable with their kind of points of view, their perspectives, that I will get what they're talking about just through what they're saying. LJR, some of his stuff goes a little too far. I will admit. I am sure if given enough time, he could tell me how Duke Nukem 3D relates to like a democratic reform in Russia. I don't want to be there when that happens.
Yeah.
The LA Meltdown, by the way, is my new band name. That's got to be taken by now.
I was gonna say it has to be.
I am relatively certain there's something I am supposed to be doing outside right now.
Level skip.
Yeah, we can do that.
Yeah, you spent a lot of time here.
Let's see. Yeah, let's go and quit the title, and then we'll go to the next area, because, yeah, I don't know where I'm going anymore.